Well, hey guys, welcome to Hope Rescue Podcast. I'm Kimberly Scott. This is my husband Tim, and excited about our new subject matter.
Yeah.
We have to. But let's talk about really quick last week.
Well, that's what I was going to say. For people that are watching and listening, you can hear a difference. We had Evan Wickham
Yes.
here, pastor of Park Hill. He's amazing.
I know.
What a great pastor.
Between the two of you, I felt like because you're both intellectuals, there was like steam coming out of my ears, like trying to process. The wheels were turning so quickly.
Yeah, well, he's a sharp guy. I really appreciate him.
Yeah, and we're really excited for him and 3 years into their ministry. So cool.
By the
way,
check out the church. Our first guest in 2020. We have several guests coming up.
Yeah.
And you're going to be interviewing some we will do together. And
we're going to mix it up a little bit.
So
mix it up
we're
a little
adding
bit.
up.
Yes.
But today we start this new series.
Yep, and it's called Practical Truths Christians Should Know.
It's kind of a mouthful.
It is. It's hard to say fast. Yeah. I see how fast you can say that. Practical Truths Christians Should Know.
I might say something naughty if I do. A tongue twister always goes naughty to me. Yeah.
One smart fella, he felt smart.
Yeah,
Two smart fellas, they felt smart.
That would not.
Three smart fellas.
There was something about a shipyard that went south, and I've never been the same since. So
yeah, you had to repent after that one.
So these practical truths we're going to go over the next several weeks.
Yes.
The first one is truth about marriage.
Ooh, so this is going to be on marriage. So call your friends and let them know.
Next time it's going to be a surprising thing. Yeah. I don't even.
Are you saying that because you're not even sure yet?
No. You want me to tell you what it is?
Okay.
Okay. It's about sex.
Oh.
Hello.
We're going there.
We're going there.
Well, I feel like I should be in.
Research.
I was going to say, I feel like I should be in on that if I'm going to be co-hosting.
Let's see how uncomfortable
Are we going to do it alone or are we going to do it together? Is that another podcast?
I'll be there. You be there. Let's meet together.
Okay.
That's what God intended.
All right.
That's
Good
God's
to know.
way.
Good to know. Okay. So today is going to be, we had to go really light and funny at the beginning because we're going to be talking about contempt.
Yeah. So
in marriage.
The problem of contempt. There's a guy named Dr. Gottman. He's a well-known psychologist. He calls these the 4 predictors of divorce. Let me read these to you, and then maybe you can give us a definition of contempt.
I've got one.
So Dr. Gottman said there are 4 predictors of divorce. Number 1, criticism of partner's personality. There's not a lot you can do about your personality.
No.
And the personality is kind of, God gave you that.
Well, it's what you were attracted to from day one, ironically.
Right. Yeah. And we're going to be talking about dating in this series and how important it is to really understand how to date well. Even if you're married, how you date your spouse, not date somebody else.
Yeah.
That's another.
We should have changed the order of this, like dating, marriage, and then sex instead of marriage, sex, and then dating.
Yeah, we're throwing it off. So anyway, the first predictor. Now, if you wonder if somebody's going to survive, their marriage is going to survive. The first predictor is criticism of partner's personality. What were you going to say?
I was gonna throw in the Wikipedia definition.
Yeah, but
of contempt.
I'm going to get to that. I'm going to give you a chance here in just a minute.
I thought you wanted
Don't have
to do
contempt
that
for
first.
my style.
Okay.
The second one is contempt. Mm-hmm. So the first one, criticism of your partner's personality. Mm-hmm. Second one is contempt for your partner. Mm-hmm. Number 3 is defensiveness. I know nothing about that. Number 4, stonewalling or emotional withdrawal. Yeah. Those are the 4 that he talks about that really develops a pattern that is going to bring that relationship to either a crisis or even divorce.
So I feel like, though, every couple or every individual listening to this that's married has been or is in that zone, and then immediately you catastrophize and think, am I heading towards divorce? I think those 4 things there are they're predictors of divorce, but they're not necessarily like that's not the outcome potentially.
Okay. Let's be honest. Have you ever criticized
that can all
your
happen
spouse?
In a day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Contempt, yes. Defensiveness and stonewalling. Those happen. Those are normal, self-centered flesh reaction to life. Mm-hmm. But there are also signs of empathy, which we want to talk about. So there are I think there are times where we have criticism of each other and contempt
For
each
sure.
other.
We'll go through
We'll call it
patches.
mild contempt.
We'll have patches of
Yeah.
this.
So what's the definition of contempt?
So contempt, according to Wikipedia, which is really
Wikipedia
where you
is
go.
everything.
Contempt is a
right?
pattern of attitudes and behavior, often toward an individual or group, but sometimes towards an ideology which has characteristics of disgust and anger. Listen to that. Disgust and anger go with contempt. The word originated in, you'll love this, Tim, 1393, from the Latin word contemptus, meaning scorn. So there you go.
So Wikipedia does it again.
Does it again.
Yeah.
So disgust and anger, those go with contempt.
Let's talk it. Let's take it outside of marriage and think about this. Right now, we're in leap year.
Yeah.
It is political year. It's very political.
Toxic
I
culture.
have never
Yeah.
seen so much hostility
Yes.
over political personalities. And when we do this show, we are purple. We don't do blue or red.
Nope.
We're not Republican or Democrat. We're purple.
Yeah.
That's not the purpose of our show. But there are people that absolutely adore Donald Trump.
Yeah.
There are people that absolutely loathe him. And there are two people in the whole world that are ambivalent. Everybody has a really strong opinion, and it's visceral.
Yes.
And it's for some people, when you read that definition over a
Anger and
philosophy-
disgust, yes.
Yeah, anger and disgust.
Yeah, and just
over-
listening to the news, you can hear anger and disgust in our home too. Everybody's experiencing it because
Yeah.
there's a culture of contempt that's very it's crossing over into everything.
But
right now.
it's like this. Let's think of contempt. I am a recovering. I'm not recovering very well. I'm a recovering angry driver.
Did you just start? Are you like
I'm
recovering starting today?
Today's today. I am an angry driver. I admit I'm not the best driver in the world, but I'll tell you what, if I cut somebody off and I know I did it, I will wave to them and apologize with my facial expressions. When people cut me off and don't acknowledge that they cut me off, I don't know why, but it just really bugs me.
Yeah.
Now, I don't do anything violent. I'm not
But there's anger and
what's
disgust
that?
there.
Road rage. I don't have
Yeah.
road rage, but I got some anger.
Well, I'd like a tape recorder to play though.
Yeah, well, that's road rage. I'd ram them.
Right, that's
But
true.
that's illegal.
Yeah.
And ungodly. But anyway, so here's this idea of, contempt. So you have contempt. And here's a perfect example. We were preaching not too long ago at a church, and I was talking about this. I get cut off, and I'm just so angry. And I'm like so angry at this car and the driver. Now, I don't know who the driver is.
Yeah.
And I drive up as fast as I can so that I can give them this most disgusting look. And when I get next to him, I realize it's this sweet old lady driving a car. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, she's got her face just barely over her wheel. You know that look.
Yes.
I'm about 5
Somebody's
years.
grandma.
I'm about 5 years from that.
Right.
In 5 years, I'll be driving like that, so I can talk about it. That's
Like
just all I'm saying.
handlebars, the wheel.
I don't know why the seat has to go so far forward, but anyway. And I look over and it's a sweet lady and she looks over and smiles.
Yes.
And you feel like
Shame,
garbage.
shame.
So it's one thing to have contempt for a politician or contempt for somebody you don't know or for a car on the road. But if you have contempt in your marriage,
And your spouse.
you're
yeah.
going to have a problem because that kind of lack of respect is going to have a diminishing impact on that relationship. So here, let me give you signs of contempt that I came up with.
Okay.
And just from researching this kind of a rejection of others. And then I want to give the signs of empathy, and maybe you could share those. Signs of empathy, signs of contempt. Contempt is a rejection response or reaction, whereas empathy is an acceptance of others. And you go, you know what? I own your pain, and I care about your
Step
pain.
into it. I sit with you in that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas contempt says, your pain is annoying me.
Yes.
So that's going to be a relationship, very destructive to a relationship. Here's some of the signs of contempt. Sarcasm, mean-spirited teasing.
Well, that's a little bit of a ouchie too, because
We're teasers.
In our family, we are all teasers, and we're very sarcastic.
We have the slam humor.
Yes.
Both you grew up with that, your
Yes.
dad, is your mom doesn't do this, but your dad does
Yeah.
it, and it's constant.
Yeah.
And it's funny.
So it comes naturally to me
Yeah.
to when something gets tense or stressful to make like a, sardonic humor, kind of tongue in cheek
Yeah.
or slam
Yeah.
humor. And you too, I know.
Yeah, but you're a teaser too. Like your
Yeah.
brothers, you never know if you're going to get teased by them.
So, but I interpreted
Practical
that.
jokes and stuff.
Yes,
like
but I interpreted that growing up.
As
Teasing was
sweet.
as a love language.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like,
So
yeah.
the sarcasm can be a way to say I love you. It's kind of a it's that.
But it
what
also
do
can be
Mike Meeks from Eastlake calls it what he calls it, the sixth love language.
sarcasm.
Sarcasm. Yeah. I think that's what he called it. But anyway, this idea that you're using sarcasm when somebody says something really important to them and you give a rejoinder that's very sarcastic.
Yeah, caustic.
Yeah. That's one. Second one is expressions like eye rolling.
Right.
Have you ever had a teenager? By the way, if you don't know this yet, 9 out of 10 of your teenagers will have contempt for you.
Yes.
Now, if you have 10
If you're doing it right, if you're raising them right.
yeah, they should. They should be like, but they roll their eyes, raise
Yeah.
that raised lip, snarling like
Yeah.
our new dog does.
Yes.
Number 3 is exaggeration for impact. And, that's a common trait of
Yeah.
contempt. Insults and name calling. That's not something we ever do. We don't do name calling.
Nope, not to each other's faces.
Yeah, behind your back. Like
Hey,
crazy.
number 3 though, exaggeration for impact. That what falls into that, and I think is common in a lot of marriages, is that where you throw this "you always" or "I never" or "you never," or those kind of statements.
Generalities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hyperbole, those
Right.
kinds of things. Insults and name calling was number 4. Number 5 is interrupting and finishing sentences. Now, here's an interesting thing. When you think about somebody who's been married a long time, you
folks.
go, look how cute they are. They finish each other's sentences. No, they just disrespect it. I'm not saying your folks, but people will absolutely rudely finish somebody's sentence. We struggle with that a little
We
bit.
started doing that.
We start doing. We're
Yeah.
becoming
But
the cute old couple that
I was going to say
have
that I
contempt.
think it can be cute because you kind of know you know the direction someone's going, so you're like in a way agreeing by jumping in, but it can feel very disrespectful when
Yeah.
someone is finishing your thought. So you have to guard against that.
Yeah, and you're trying to tell a story and somebody starts telling the story for you.
Yeah.
It's like step right in front of you and go,
I've done
and
that.
what I'm going to, yeah, you have. And I have. We both have done it. I do it all the time.
I think we do it on the
do it to-
podcast.
I do it to people I hardly even know.
Yeah.
I'm horrible. I need to get saved.
Okay. We just
All
need
right.
to listen to what we're preaching here.
Yeah, right. Correcting and redoing other people's work.
Yes.
So
Don't even get me started.
one case, for example, is the dishwasher.
Yes.
I have a tendency, if I'm feeling up to it, to reload the dishwasher.
No,
when
to unload, wash, and then reload the dishes.
Yeah, I like it clean before it goes in the
You
dishwasher.
want them washed and sanitized before they go through the system.
No, the sanitizing is done by the dishwasher.
Oh.
But I clean them, and then it's sanitized. It's the only purpose of
You
the
wash
dishwasher.
them.
I
The
wash 'em.
dishwasher sanitizes.
That's right.
That's so. Then why do they call it a dishwasher?
Because it's a lie. It's a lie from hell. Anyway.
There you go, guys. There's
Yeah.
your example.
So, I do have it. We will go. I'll be working on something very close, and I'm working on it. And then you'll just reach in and try to take it. And true? I do it to you. You do it to me.
Yes, it's
Do we
true.
have contempt?
Sometimes.
Maybe-
Yeah.
maybe
No,
we
I
need
think
a
it's a
therapist.
real thing in marriage. I think you have to.
You have to fight that.
There's certain things that you're great at, and there's certain things that I'm great at. So in your area of expertise, quote unquote, you feel like you can do something better. So you step into, be a helpmate and come
Yeah.
alongside, and then but that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes it's your ego that wants you to do it your way or correct
Yeah,
someone.
controller. I'm a bit of a controller.
And
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's just you. I'm saying it's me too.
I was
both.
talking about you.
Oh. You
So-
guys were laughing now, but we are
just-
seriously going to go we're going to punch it out after this.
Just recently, we have a food truck, a food distribution truck. Yeah,
Hope
mobile
Rescue.
Food. Yeah, Hope
Yeah.
Rescue does. And we have some events coming up if you're interested in those. But nevertheless, we There's some little technical things because it's this company does all kinds of electrical upgrades on large step vans. They look like UPS trucks.
Yeah.
They do them for tools and stuff like that. And they've got generators and they've got different electrical systems that you can use power in different ways. And there's converters and all that. Anyway, I'm just learning how to do it. It's completely out of my field. I'm not an electrical engineer.
But you love
nor am I
dropping
an
all
auto
those
mechanic.
words.
What I do like is trying to figure something out.
Yes, fixing
And
stuff.
I found this place where it gets it and troubleshoots everything. And so I got it working, and I'm like so satisfied that I did this myself.
Yeah.
If somebody else was doing it, I would have bothered me.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to do things. It's a little bit of that control thing.
And pride and
Yeah.
and also I don't think that's can be always
all bad.
unhealthy. Yeah.
Here's the good news about contempt is that even if you have contempt is not it's zero contempt and it's a 10. There are
Degrees.
there's degrees in there. You may be a 3 or a 2 and have a mild form of contempt. It's when you start getting to, on a scale of 1 to 10, where your contempt is a 7, 8, 9, you're really doing great damage to your relationship. But here's a good way to catch it. And Kimberly, if you'll share the signs of empathy that accept that other person, ask yourself in your marriage, if you're a married couple, yes, you want to discover, do we have signs of contempt?
Yeah.
But see if these signs of empathy are there, because we have these. Go
Yes.
ahead.
So before I jump into that, I just want to say, as I was listening to you, this is something maybe in this last week or so, I was having a couple of days where I was just kind of nitpicking on you, and we talked about this, and over things that didn't really matter, and I was having the little bubblings of contempt over just really silly things, and I had to step back, and I got a check from the Lord, this has nothing to do with him. Has to do with you and how you're feeling about yourself right now, and you're projecting on him your contempt, your own self-loathing to that whatever degree that was. I felt so convicted because it was absolutely dead on. But had I not done a little self-analyzation and coming before the Lord, I probably would have stayed in that negative volition for several days towards you. And isn't that true that we often go after the one we love the most when we're feeling kind of yucky about ourselves? That's the safest target.
So I love that word that you just used, the statement you used, negative volition. So contempt is negative volition. Positive volition is empathy. So when you're positive, like I used to be a professor and even preaching at church, which I did for all of my adult life, you can see people that are on negative volition. Like I remember this one guy, this woman wanted to bring her husband, prayed and prayed, would you pray with me that he'll come? And I remember the day he came, and it was Easter.
Oh, wow.
And the place was packed, but she always sat like 2 or 3 rows back. And I remember him sitting here like this, for those
Arms
of you who
crossed.
can't see this, arms are crossed, and he's kind of like, go ahead, see if you can. And I started using a little bit of humor and some storytelling. And one of the stories that I shared was pretty emotional. I could see him getting a little choked up.
Yeah.
And I could see the body language change. Anyway, the beauty was he went from negative to positive volition, and that guy got saved that day
In one Sunday morning Easter service.
One Sunday.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and he was probably a bad experience from a previous church or something, or misconception about what that is. But you can see that change. That can happen in marriage as well.
Yep.
So are you on negative volition towards your spouse, or are you on positive volition?
And this is the positive signs of empathy. The first one is that you are an active listener. Okay, that's a tough one, because if you've been married for a while and you're listening to your spouse, we tend to tune out. We have so many distractions between the television, our cell phones, kids that interrupt, pets. We just rescued a dog this last week, and there's always this background situation going on of tension between the 2 dogs getting to know each other and life with the dogs. But to be an active listener means you're an intentional listener. So making eye contact and really sitting in whatever it is that they're processing with them. And it doesn't even mean that you have to say anything, but actively listening, people can tell.
I was going to say, an active listener, very good active listener, will either with eye contact or body language say, I hear you, without saying anything. But for many of us, we have to, especially if it's intense, I hear you saying this, and you repeat what is said. You don't want to be rude about it. You don't want to say, be sarcastic, but to lovingly repeat what is said. I've had some confrontations that I worked up a head of steam in terms of defensiveness. And when I get there, I just pray it up and pray it up and pray it up, and then walk into that. And it's always when you're going, okay, this person matters to me. I love this person. I want to hear what they
more
have
than
to
this
say,
issue.
more than being defensive. Anyway, okay.
So the second is to use your power or your abilities for others. That's a powerful thing to do in showing a sign of empathy. Is what do I have? What can I offer to this situation or to this person to be able to show that I want to help them? I'm in this with them.
So what is defensiveness if it's not this conversation's about me? But when I hear and respond, I can make it about us.
About you or them.
So if you and I are in a conversation and we're having a tense moment, and I remember back years ago, we haven't had a lot of tense moments, but we're having a conversation.
Yes, we have.
Not that many. It's been 37 each year. No, I remember this conversation we were having. It was pretty intense. I was angry. You were angry. You were more shocked at my anger, I think. And we were talking about my mom.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember the issue. I just remember feeling so helpless to help my mother, who was going really blind at the time. And I don't know why I blamed you for whatever it was. It doesn't even matter. But I remember the conversation. It was because my mom was there in the house. We were whispering harsh.
Yeah. Just if it makes you feel any better, I have no recollection of that conversation. So,
I live it every day.
So if you were feeling contempt, I didn't.
No, I didn't feel contempt. I just remember the conversation was not about you. It was about me.
Oh, I see.
And I made it about my power for my benefit.
Gotcha.
Not about my power for your benefit.
Okay.
And I wasn't really listening to you. And when we talked about it later, I heard your heart, which I always know your heart is so good. But I heard your heart, and we resolved it on that basis. So anyway.
Number 3 is you hurt for others when they are in pain. So that to me is the instant, quick definition of empathy, is that you actually are entering into that pain with them and sharing with them. And you allow yourself to identify their brokenness and to shoulder that with them, in that moment. Number 4 is you are tolerant of each other's ideas. So that's an interesting word, tolerant. So it doesn't mean you have to have full buy-in.
No.
It just means that you allow them to have their
In fact,
freedom.
you don't have buy-in.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need tolerance if you agree.
Good point.
So think about this. People have political views.
Right.
People have asked me over the years, Pastor, would you please tell us who we're supposed to vote for? Especially a year like this. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
And the reason it's not going to happen is because I'm not going to risk my influence capital on offending somebody over something that's not my calling. If I was a politician, I'd certainly say, because I have very strong feelings.
Skin in the
as you
game,
know.
if you were a politician.
But as a pastor, I want to be able to use the influence that I have. But what happens when you're in a conversation with someone with whom you disagree? You're going to have to tolerate those differences. To fail to do so is going to be a real problem.
Right.
So look, we're going to run out of time here. So I wanted to relate this to Scripture a little bit. Think about marriage and think about the first marriage. You've got Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve are created in the garden in a perfect environment, and they don't have the sin nature.
Yeah.
They are not sinners. They've never sinned.
Yeah.
And they have this beautiful relationship.
And they're naked.
And they're naked. Yeah, they're. What did you call it? What's that?
Nicky, butt naked.
Buck naked. What is buck? Is it butt naked
Butt.
or buck?
I think butt. Or maybe it is
Butt.
buck naked.
I don't know, but it's naked.
They're
Either way,
naked.
they have no clothes. Things. Anyway, the point is that there's no guile.
Yeah.
There's no shame. There's no sin. They have a perfect, beautiful communication. The minute they sin, the first thing they do is they begin to react in Genesis chapter 2 and 3. And what happens is in chapter 3, they begin, first thing, they hide their sexuality from each other. So something's gone wrong there. Then they hide from God. So there's something gone wrong in their spiritual connection to God. And God says, why did you hide? And go, well, we were afraid. They were fearful. And fear and shame and flesh create this division.
Right.
And the contempt grows in that environment. So to remove contempt, there has to be a resolution to this problem. And so Jesus, of course, gave to them skins, prophesied the coming of the Messiah. But what you need to understand is there are three things. And I just want to close with this. Ephesians chapter 5 and the last verse, the last two verses, 30 and 31, that when you have bitterness, contempt, it's a form of contempt, malice, you've got anger, you've got wrath. All of these are removed by three things. Verse 31 says, be kind to one another. So what you do is you stop in your marriage and go, how do I show kindness to my wife or my husband? What can I do today that bridges between me to her or me to him? And that sets the right environment. The second thing is that you be understanding, be sympathetic. It's that word for empathy. It's that comes from the very core of your being, that you enter into why people do what they do. So be kind to one another. Tenderhearted, that's the word. And then the last one is forgive each other. Through God in Christ Jesus.
That's good.
Because that's where we've been forgiven. Just as you've been forgiven by God in Christ, you forgive others. All you need is a good memory and realize, I'm imperfect. One of the things when we have tension, when we have disagreements, it doesn't last very long because we kind of back off and go, I really not only love her or love him, I need him, I need her in my life. And we are in this together, and our commitment rises up into this. And so we're kind of rewriting the script of our relationship, and in those ways of, engaging with each other, instead of focusing on the negative complaints, to really talk about positive solutions, or watch the words that we say, or even the tone.
How we say things.
And, then the most important probably is that final, like, I forgive you.
Actively practicing forgiveness. Every day. Yep, that's key.
Well, listen, hey, this is going to be a great series. I'm excited about this series. It's hard to say. Practical truths Christians should know. Just a mouthful.
And we're talking about sex next week, so don't miss.
Come on, don't miss that. And we will be back together at Hope Rescue Podcast. It's been great to have you with us. We pray that these principles that we talk about, whether it's from our experience or from Scripture, will be helpful to your life. If you have any questions, you can write us. HopeRescuePodcast.org. We love you. God bless. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Guys.